puedo hacer la presentación en español.
I don't have problem with the English or Spanish, whatever
Perfect.
you feel comfortable.
Thank you. So, great. That's great. And if there are any questions, please feel free. I'm not limited by time. I'm here to answer as many questions and help you guys out. So if you do have something that you want clarification on, feel free to stop me and ask me to clarify that. That's perfectly all right. As we look through it, essentially we're going to look at not just the value proposition, but we're going to go into a live demo account so I can show you what the product looks like, the features, the way the customers will be using them, and really see sometimes in seeing the product itself, we can sort of solidify the value in our own minds so that we can go about imparting that value and selling it to our customers. So RingByName is a little bit different than most of what is considered a hosted PBX. We do some things that are very unique as compared to some of the other solutions that are on the market. We, as the name implied, RingByName, it has the ability, because it has an integrated CRM, contact management system, it has the ability to greet your customers by name based on the caller ID information that we're receiving from that inbound call. So, for example, if Jaime were to call into my office and I have his phone number stored in my shared contact list, it's going to say, "Hi, Jaime, thank you for calling RingByName. The last time you called, you spoke to Matt. To speak to Matt again, press 1. Otherwise, please hold for a list of available menu options." The other advantage of RingByName as opposed to standard PBX, I'm sure, as you guys know, a hosted PBX means that, one, there is no costly centralized PBX to maintain. The product itself lives in the cloud. It lives in one of our data centers. And all of your customers' extensions, so the entire organization, can be spread out with it, whether it's in a building or, in our case, RingByName, our employees, as you'll see in a moment, are spread throughout the globe. Regardless of that geographic separation, we have the ability to make internal 4-digit dialing internal calls at no charge. And because of our international calling packages, we can also call within 67 countries in addition to the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico at no additional charge. So it really gives our customers the ability to support multi-location businesses and to support clients that are really global. It gives them a global reach. The system also gives us real-time reporting, so we do have presence. We have the ability to see within the organization what is happening in terms of who's on the phone, how long they've been on the phone. And in addition to that, has some reporting options to allow us to find out exactly how the system is working, and whether or not we're working at our most efficient. So we spoke a moment ago about the allowing the integrated CRM to allow you to work smarter. Essentially, here at RingByName, we've built the product that, as our slogan, one of our slogans is, we want to help our customer win and keep more business. For those of you, I know here everybody here on the call is using something like HubSpot, but we do have also our customers maybe using a CRM like Zoho or Salesforce or Highrise. Our product is one of the only products that integrates a light CRM, so we do have the ability to attach documents, files, appointments, faxes, notes to each and every contact. So as that call comes in, not only is it greeted by name, but that information travels with the call and allows for anyone within the organization to have quick access to all of the information that's built in, and we'll see that in just a moment in our live demo. Because we're cloud-based, we're also what we like to say platform agnostic. So Regardless of who the customer is, we have a wide variety of SIP devices that can be attached to it, whether it's a Grandstream, a Yealink, a Polycom, a Cisco. Essentially, we have a very wide choice of what gets attached. The system is also very easy to set up so that calls can be received on a soft phone on a computer, a soft phone on a mobile device, or forwarded directly to a mobile device or a landline, or even an ATA. So the delivery of the phone calls, the delivery of those of communications is simple, right? We don't force you to use one particular brand or one particular model. As long as it is a SIP compliant device, we can essentially deliver traffic to it. So we also spoke about some of the other selling points that our customers are looking for here in the United States. And this may be a little varied from what the customer looks for in Latin America, but we're always looking, our customers here are always looking for ways that they can increase their, not just their cost savings and get a higher return on investment, but how they can ensure that they're not missing any opportunities. How can they ensure that they're capturing as much business as possible, that they're able to track employee activity, and how does the phone system contribute to their continuity, right? What happens if the internet should go down? That happens to be a particular concern with users of voice over IP technology. What happens if my internet goes down? What happens if the power goes out? Will RingByName still be able to deliver phone calls to me? And the answer is yes. Again, the world is yours, is what we say. We have the ability to, with our world plan packages, deliver calls. We have limited calling within, it's actually 69 countries, so USA and Canada not included here. But you'll see from Argentina to Venezuela, Japan to Iraq, you do have the ability to make unlimited phone calls to landlines in those countries, and with I think it's half dozen countries also include mobile calling within that particular country. I think in Latin America, with the exception of Puerto Rico, I believe the mobile calls are separate. They're actually not included in the unlimited packages, and we'll discuss. So why don't we actually take a look at what RingByName is, what it looks like, how it works. So what we're looking at here is a live production version of RingByName. So this is the actual the office I'm actually sitting in. So as we look at the main interface, this is what your customers would be looking at. Our customers have access to a web application as well as a mobile application. So this is the mobile application here. And we basically can see all of our shared contacts in the first column, and a listing of all of our coworkers. So here in the office, you can see most of the staff here is off the phone, but Rebecca, for example, is talking to Carolina. They've been on the phone for 46 seconds. Stephanie just also received a phone call from, it looks like, a number in Los Angeles, and she's been on the phone for 26 seconds. Zane here in our development team is probably also on a call, and he's put himself in Do Not Disturb. And this module was actually going to show you who is on the phone in real time. So as calls are received, the tiles are going to change in real time. So at a glance, I can see who's on the phone, how long they've been talking, and actually you'll see that right now, not only will you hear all my phones in my office ringing, but you can actually see the caller ID on screen pop up. So I have an incoming call from Rakesh here. I can actually launch, it's great with a live call, I can actually launch a link to open up his contact information. So in real time, I can pull up his contact information, his call history, so I can see the last time he called in was today at 11:23 a.m. And he spoke to Kui, and actually you'll just hear the beeping in the background. He's just left me a voicemail. He left me a voicemail about 20 minutes earlier at 11:08 a.m. Let me zoom in here so that you can see that a little bit easier. So without any work being done on my part, we actually have a full history of all the contact between myself and this particular individual. Should I want to leave a note, okay, so I'm just going to type in a note here. I missed, of course, because I'm broadcasting, it's going a little slow. Okay, so I can enter my notes and hit save. And sure enough, what's going to happen is the system's automatically going to update those notes. You'll see they've already appeared in the running log. And now my note history is attached to that contact card. So the next time Rakesh here calls somebody at RingByName, not only will that phone caller ID pop up on screen, but it's also going to have my note at the very top of that inbound call, so that, oh, Rakesh is calling, Felipe was going to call him back in 30 minutes, let me see what's going on. Now from here, I can share my notes out to a colleague or to an external. So if I wanted to share this note with Matt, for example, I would simply go out down to Matt. Of course, this thing doesn't want to cooperate with me. There we go, Matt. And click and hit save. And now Matt is going to get an updated notification on his quick notes and reminders, and he's also going to get a copy of my note delivered to him by email. Now, within those functionalities, we have our quick notes. So again, it's an easy way for us to exchange content very quickly in terms of updating a note, letting an assistant know that you're expecting a phone call, or to check a PDF or a contract. I have the ability to mark those notes new or mark them as read or unread. I have the ability to share any one of those notes either internally with a coworker or externally to perhaps an outside contractor simply by typing in an email. I have the ability to search and create upcoming events. So I can enter meeting notes, meeting reminders, call reminders, all of which will appear and generate both an email entry, an email notification, and a notification within the application itself. Now, because our contact card has all the contact information for that person, I have the ability to, example, not just to receive my e-faxes and view them and send via an online interface, but any inbound calls, faxes that are received are automatically tagged and attached to my contact record. So for example here, if I were to close this and scroll down, we'll see that there is a fax that was sent to Shanna. If I click, it's going to open up her contact details, and in the fax history, it's actually going to show all of the faxes that were sent or received for that individual. So I no longer have to go around through folders looking for PDF copies of faxes or documents. It's all stored centrally in one location. Now, I can also very quickly see what calls I've missed, and return them simply by clicking on an online interface to launch a new phone call. But if I'm working on my laptop and I'm attached using a soft phone or working, let's say, from a Starbucks or a hotel, I can also dial a phone number and have the system initiate a call out to me and then connect me out to my client or to my destination, so that the phone call, the phone number, that's presented to my customer is always my company phone number and not my private direct cell phone number. And I'll show you how that is accomplished in a moment. Now, one of the new features that we've released is our SMS platform. So we do have the ability to send and receive text messages via an online interface. So, for example, if I wanted to generate a new voice text message, I would simply click, start typing the name or number that I'd like to send to. So in this case, we're going to send to a test number on my cell phone. We can simply, just like a familiar interface on a mobile device, and we're going to hit send here. And just as a text message is generated online. Sure. The nice thing is that SMS is included with our accounts. So all of the company numbers, that are assigned, that we give out with our accounts, all include SMS service on board. We do have the ability there's some limited SMS international. We'd have to get you a country list at the moment. Right now, the problem with SMS, the only problem is that certain countries, the carriers don't support SMS internationally. So we're in the process of making routing changes and allowing the system to, for us to identify which countries and which routes, so that we can offer SMS coverage in those areas. Yep. So this may be a feature that may not work in 100% of Latin America in the right away. Let me make a note of myself to look up countries. Okay. So in addition to the ability to send and receive, and again, those SMS messages, they are not just as everything in this interface is shared. It's designed for a team dynamic. So you'll see that although I have 6 notifications for SMS messages, there are literally hundreds of text messages on this platform. Not all of them are assigned to me. Essentially, what this does is it allows a company to send a text message to a client or an individual, and then receive a response not on a personal direct number, but on a company number where any member of the team that has been granted access, to that number can respond. Here in the United States, we're seeing the customers that use this feature the most would be hospitality. So restaurants, hotels, anywhere you have a reservation or notification need, where typically the restaurant may use a pager or have a waiting area. Medical practices and other professional services firms where this is a replacement for a electronic notification or a voice notification of an appointment. So our medical practice customers are sending out an appointment reminder or accepting a confirmation of appointments. Shipping departments, freight forwarders, are using this to send trafficking notifications for packages or confirmation numbers. And even here at RingByName, this is very popular with our customer service and accounting teams, where we are actually sending payment reminders to customers. Friendly reminders, Mr. Customer, your credit card information is expired. Please remember to log into your system and update your payment information. We find that smaller transactional text message is more well received by the customer than a phone call. Typically, that response time is a bit quicker. So, it's very popular for small financial transactions and reminders as well. Sure. Correct. Correct. With respect to the attachments to a customer's contact card, so the documents are actually attached to a contact record. So if I were going to attach, let's say, a contract to my contact, so let's say here I'm going to attach to Rakesh's contact card. I want to attach a contract that I've written. You can attach any type of file with a maximum file size of 10 megabytes. Right? We have had customers ask us to, it used to be 5 megabytes, we've actually doubled it to 10. So there's a file size limitation of 10 megabytes. There is no storage limitation. So you can have one document or 100,000 documents. There is no storage limitations. The same is true for voicemail. Voicemail can live on your account forever. If we search my voicemail here at the moment, it's going to take a while to update. You'll see here as the system does its search, you're going to find that I have roughly 4,000 voicemails that are sitting in my voicemail box, some of which have been listened to, most of are not. There are no storage limitations for voicemails. They can sit there forever. You'll see that it's still populating my voicemails. You're basically limited only by how far back you want to search. I'm sorry. And Edgar's other question was the limitation on the storage and the time frame. Yeah. Yeah, correct. You'll see this is still loading thousands and thousands and thousands of voicemails. This will go on forever. Now the system, it will only display the first, I believe it's the first 80 or 90, and then as you scroll further down, it's going to query the database and load the next block of 100. So if you wanted to, again, you have the ability to go through hundreds of these pages worth of storage, but I don't recommend it. It does take a long time to load. Mm-hmm. So the same thing goes with SMS. SMS, the limitations here are it's unlimited text messaging. So you can send and receive as many text messages as you'd like. The system does not allow, what do they call that, text message blasting. So it is a one-to-one relationship. You can only text one person at a time. We are working on an update to provide short code service, which would allow for email, rather text message blasts to, let's say, all of your customers at once with a promotion or a sale. We don't offer that yet. In terms of storage, The entire history is stored for as long as your account is active with us. We don't delete any of that history. That it lives on our servers forever, and it's accessible to you, in perpetuity. So I can go back and search the history of these calls, forever and ever and ever and ever. Now, I have the ability to, from this screen, not just see my own calls, but see my team calls. So here, for example, I can see at a glance all of the inbound and outbound phone calls, text messaging, everything that's happened within my company. So if I'm a manager, for example, I may be interested in seeing. Let me go back here and just turn this off. So I may be interested in seeing, for example, show me the missed calls for the Spanish sales department, the Spanish language sales. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to select my department, Spanish sales. Yes, and of course. And the system will automatically, based on those filters, show me all of the calls that fit that criteria. So, for example, I can see here that we missed a call here. It appears from 563. That is somewhere in Iowa. Okay, so we have our Iowa call. They missed a call from this number in Iowa, and of course couldn't reach Matt Bramson. Oh, Matt, you've been a naughty boy. You've also missed the call. So this call bounced around today, and it doesn't look like anybody's called them back. So as a manager, I can very quickly see who is or is not, what opportunities may be in jeopardy because nobody's spoken to them yet. I can also go out and search for, let's say, just my outbound text messages, my inbound text messages. The one feature that we don't allow you to search for here, that we won't display, we only display it to our administrators, is recordings, voice recordings. Obviously, for security or compliance reasons, you may not want all of your employees to have access to those recordings. You only want, let's say, a manager or a supervisor to have access to recordings of calls. So while we will show you that a recording happened or that a voicemail was delivered to a voicemail box, we will not allow you to access any recording other than your own voicemails through this platform. Okay. Yeah. Now the other nice thing about that.
But Felipe, sorry, I'm in a noisy place, but regulatory things here in Colombia, they don't allow to record persons without acceptance of this person. So I believe it's the same in other countries, right?
Correct. We're actually.
No. It has accepted. Has to have to accept.
Sure.
Before.
We're actually making an update because here in the United States, depending on where in the United States you are, here, for example, in the state of Florida, we are not required to let anybody know that your call is recorded. But our customers, let's say in New York State, are required to notify them the moment they enter a menu system, for example, that their phone call is recorded. And two, they're also legally required that if the customer says, I do not want to be recorded, there is some manual process to turn that recording off. We do have in our roadmap the plan to add not just the notification, but the manual turning, the switching of recording on and off for all calls. So that'll appear as a record button at the top of your screen. I'm sure we could. Right now, let me show you how that's configured. So from a system administration's perspective, it's actually quite easy. When we load up the administrator panel here, and we go into our setup, our phone calls are actually recorded not at the individual level, but at the department level. So for example, we may want all calls for our technical support department to be recorded. So Brazil support, for example, here, we can, when we create our departments, we add all of our support agents, all of the team members who will be answering in that department. And then we can decide whether or not to record those calls, right? So only the calls for that department can be recorded. Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. Yeah. I'm sure to make the change so that, let's say, all accounts ordered for customers, let's say in Colombia, had their own, sat on their own sort of server, and that version of RingByName would not include recording. Now, the easiest way to handle this at the moment is because call recording is an add-on service, then the easiest way would be to not to sell them recording. Yeah, if recording isn't sold on the account, it will not appear as an option in the setup.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's a feature.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the system itself is, from what you can see here, this is the administrative dashboard. This is where we would actually come in and set up all of the features of RingByName, whether that's the users. So, for example, if I wanted to make a change to a user here, whether that's to, let me go into myself, configure and make changes to my username, my password, my extension number, or I know that you guys are going to love this, all of the routing to the different IP devices and cell phones. So as you can see here right now, the devices that have green dots next to them, those are devices that are online and connected to the internet and receiving phone calls. So right now, if you call my direct number, it's ringing in 5 different locations. My Grandstream video phone at my desk here at work, a Panasonic cordless phone, also here in this building, our primary building, my backup desk, which is a Cisco SPA 509 phone. So just to give you an idea of the different models. And then we're routing it to my cell phone. But this being Friday, the second I get home, I'm also going to turn on the routing to my home landline simply by clicking Enable and clicking the Save button below. Now, because we want to make, again, things as easy for an administrator as possible, not only do we allow the administrator to create additional routing to landlines or cell phones, mobile devices, cell phone number 3. We're going to have it route to my cell phone in Washington, D.C. Hit save. You'll see it's already added, made it active. I'm going to turn on the voicemail and change the password to 4567. I'm going to have it use a generic greeting for my voicemail. Sorry, no one can take your call at the moment. Or I can type what I want the system to announce and select the language in which to read it, because we do have a text-to-speech engine. Our entire platform, not just our interface, but all of the prompts, the system prompts that our callers hear, can be selected in Spanish, English, or Portuguese. So, for example, I can have that read in English. I'll hit save. And all of those changes are already active. If I decide, let's go back to here and change my language settings. And again, this takes a... Skype has decided to slow me down here. There we go. Excuse me. In my language settings here. I can select the language of my choice. So here I can set my primary language to Spanish, hit save, and the system's automatically going to not just update the software as I see it as a user, but it's now also changing all of the prompts. So if somebody arrives at my mailbox, it's going to actually give them the prompts, thank you, the time, the mailbox numbers, all of the entire profile has been changed to this new language. So now I can see my activity, personal activity, my group activity are in Spanish. All of my icons, notifications will now be in the new language that I've selected. And even my system administration area is now in Spanish. So the nice thing about this is, for a company like RingByName, our staff is split between the United States and Latin America. So a certain amount of us here in the United States were set up in English. Our workforce in Brazil and in Argentina are set up in Spanish, and they all exist within the same PBX. So here again, if I search for the user, I can again make changes to the settings, and you'll see all of the language settings are still the same. Working with my departments would be the same, either by creating a new department or adding simply, let's create, agregar un departamento, ventas LATAM. We can create a reference tag so that we can look at reports. So ventas LATAM N3, and we can decide who's going to take phone calls for that group. So let's see who speaks Spanish. Antonio, Angelica, Ana Maria, Felipe, Estefania, Elena, y Marcos. Okay. How do I want to distribute? Do I want to do a call blast? or do I want to distribute the calls in a particular order? So how many rings? They're going to ring for 5, but you know what? Marcos is my number 1 salesperson, so I want him to ring first, and then Estefania, and then I want to be all the way at the bottom because I don't want them to get the call unless everybody else is busy, and I want everybody to get a copy of a voicemail notification. Save. Do I want to enable call recording? Okay. Okay. And do I want to set business hours? Should I always route calls to that group? Or should I create business hours, let's say Monday from 9 to 5 p.m. and we're going to be closed on Saturday and Sunday. So we've created business hours very quickly. And what happens when the call can't be reached during business hours? Well, we're going to route it back to a menu, or perhaps I'm going to send it to my after hours agent, right? My emergency department. So here's my after hours. We're going to create a voicemail box, a new voicemail box for the department so everybody gets a copy, or no, I want to send it to the Spanish sales manager, and that is me. Okay. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. But what we see the most and best practices is to in our user setup. So if I were to scroll up here to users, you'll see that any one of these users can be granted, where is it, administrator access, right? You can turn it on or off. As we scroll through our user list, you'll see that only a handful, maybe 4 or 5 in a company that we've got 8 pages worth of users here. But most companies, it's usually an IT manager or maybe an office administrator who has access to the system as an administrator. One, because you don't want anybody to come in here and make the mistake of perhaps routing phone calls to the wrong area. Second, when a customer places an order with us, we have an activations team. We refer to them as the onboarding department. And so we have a team that actually will sit with the customer, and they'll try to get to understand the customer's business. Okay, Mr. Customer, what kind of business are you? How are you currently receiving your phone calls? Do you have different departments? Do you have a menu set up on your current system right now? And we will create all of the distribution for those calls. So, for example, here, this is not a good one. Let me open up an example for you to show you another account. So here, I'm going to show you in the setup menus, we have the ability to create very expansive menus, right? So we can have a top level where a language is selected. Press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, 3 for Portuguese. We have customers who have language separations, geographical separations. For our New York office, press 1. For our Santiago office, Chile office, press 2. And each one of those menus below may have different options and different routing. Right, so we have here our Spanish menu, for example, is routed and greeted in a different language. We have the ability to create multi-layer menus for each. Right, we can have one menu pointing to another menu pointing to a third menu. Best practices, our customers typically do not use, and we do not recommend anything beyond the three layers. Why? One, we have a fair amount of data to suggest that customers stop listening at the second level, right? And two, if your menus are created, well, there should be within one or two levels, you should be able to reach the correct department or individual. Keeping in mind that for each one of these menu options, we can send that call to a group of people, a voicemail box, another menu, or an individual. So there's no reason why you should need to go beyond those three. Although we have seen customers go as if you needed to, you do have the ability to go 20 layers deep in RingByName. Right, the system is highly scalable. We do have one customer. It's a realtor. He sells home, un inmobiliaria, I think is what in Spanish. He is a one-man operation. He covers an entire county in, I believe it's Maine, and so he places the ads in the newspaper on a Sunday, and when you call in, his menu is press 1 for the property at 123 Main Street, for the property at 1313 Sunshine Estates, press 2. When you get to the property, then it says to listen to information about the school district, press 1. For information about the style, press 2. To reach the mortgage department for this property, press 3. For information about the last tax assessment, press 4. His menu is, he's the only person that I can remember in recent memory to use that menu, but he literally has it configured as though it were a web page. You come in and you can spend 20 minutes in there listening to different options about homes. Not something I would recommend, but certainly something that's possible. In terms of the flexibility, you have the flexibility at the telephone number level. So at the telephone number level, as you'll see here, I have numbers in the United States, in Australia, and in Mexico. So customers that are calling in a local number in Sydney, Australia, or in Miguel Hidalgo in Mexico City, will both reach me without any long distance phone call charges. I can take, let's say, the number in Mexico and decide, you know what, I don't want it to go to an individual, Bobby here. I want it to go directly to a Spanish menu. Right? Chances that somebody in Mexico City is going to want to go through the menu in English are slim, right? So I'm going to route them directly to Spanish, right? On the other hand, my customer in Australia, right, that may be a specific number for, let's say, an engineering project I'm working. So I don't want them to go to a menu. I want them to go directly to an engineering department and go to a group of people all at once, or directly to a voicemail box or a user. As you can tell here, we have the ability to route that call anywhere within our system. And for the US, we're going to point them to the very top of that menu so that they make the selection of language, then the selection of location. So for English, press 1. For Spanish, press 2. For our Miami office, press 1. For our Sydney, Australia office, press 2. For our Mexico City office, press 3. And then after that selection, for engineering, press 1. For customer service, press 2. For technical support, press 3, and we can create that large phone system in just a few phone clicks. Now, even at the direct number level, we do have the ability, every single RingByName user comes with not just an extension number, but a direct number. And we have the ability to also, on the fly, unassign. So let's say Philip here doesn't need, he is an intern or somebody who works in a warehouse. He needs the ability to make and receive phone calls, but he does not he doesn't need a direct number. So we're going to go ahead and unassign that number. That number is going to go straight to a busy signal. You know, I made. Sure. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, I would rather to have another session
Yeah.
because it's very interesting and you know it could be take time as well.
Yeah, I can go forever. But yes, the limitations here for inbound phone calls, you're limited by the number of channels. So each one of the basically the math works out as follows: the number of users. So here in our user database, we have 4 users plus the number of company numbers times 2. It's 2 channels per user and per line, correct? We can certainly add more channels now. In some countries, but I think not in Latin America. I think in some countries there are some limitations on the maximum number of channels. You know, from the carrier, yeah. But I think it would be, you know, a very large number.
Yes, for me it's possible. Afternoon probably is better for us, and I have yeah, it's good.
Christian, it would be better for me to have it in the morning, but in the afternoon I have availability until 4 o'clock, I think. Yes, until 4 o'clock. No, but until 4 I will be from from 8 to 4 I will be available. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. 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 And if you guys have a list of questions or focus, we can I can make sure that we cover those you know, on Tuesday's session.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Have a
care.
great weekend, folks.
Thanks, guys.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.